So he gives me my gun and I shoot like this, and I'm like this, and I go and I pull the trigger and I go like this. And he's like, "You see what happened? I anticipated the shot."
You flinched.
Yup. Even though nothing happened because he took it out to see that I was anticipating the shot.
That's the thing
So
about, like, yeah, I can equate, like, shooting a gun. I try to relate that to my golf game because it's that last flinch right before you hit the ball, you know?
yep.
So I try to relate that, shooting that flinch, and this is why we went ahead and, kinda started the podcast while we were just having our normal conversation, and welcome everyone to the Misunderstood podcast. I am Cy Hansen, joined by Sir Justine Bartholomew Constantable Webb the
What's going on,
13th.
peeps?
Mr. Justin Webb, what's up, buddy? The real star of the show, the guy who does the legwork, the guy who's behind the
Not really.
scenes. I mean, you know, you
Not really.
you doing your I'm just saying, bro. Without you, there is no show. So that's what I'm getting at. So thanks again for joining me, my guy. We got another array of topic, or not really topics, but places that we've been going through a lot of these megalithic structures around the world, and we've talked about Tartaria. We're building up to talking about the Great Pyramids at Giza, or the pyramids at Giza, and kind of doing a deep dive into all this history and all this stuff that there's a narrative of a timeline, and you know everything has a date, everything has a story that may or may not be true. So we're gonna keep diving down that. But anyways, what's new with you, Justin?
It's already Saturday. It's actually funny. It wasn't the weekend didn't go by too quick. Today felt like a Sunday, but the weekend's not flying by, which is good for me. So just some
That's
yard work, man, and chilling.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yep. I know that you had some stuff going on the last 2 days, some family events, and
yeah, yeah. I did. Um, Unfortunately, my oldest aunt passed away last Sunday, and my dad's oldest sister, and she was the oldest of nine, so it was a big family, and yeah, that was unfortunate. So we had wakes and funerals and celebrations, all that stuff. So yeah, and it rained the whole time, which was like,
oh gosh,
it was always pouring rain the whole time, which was fun. It makes all that so much more enjoyable when it's pouring rain on you. But hey, you know, people only die once, so I got to pay my respects and support my family members, who you know maybe weren't taking it. I mean, it was hard, but other people took it harder. So it's one of those things.
yeah,
You know, tis life. The older we get, the more people the more people are going to pass away in your life, and it's just kind of just one of those things. And
yeah. It's crazy you say that too, because it's like it's obvious like that circle of life, but like it's like yeah. I mean, it gets like this weird. I don't know. It's like a weird overcast of like this like state of like reflecting where you're like, dude, time flies. I'm getting old so quick.
yeah,
Like it's just everybody. I don't know. Everybody like the is going, and that's what's really hard is because like when you grew up from like a young kid up until like your 20s, 30s. When your parents and your grandparents and everybody's still alive, it's like that is who you are, right? So when you lose people, it like breaks away a piece of you, and it feels weird. So
yeah, definitely. And it's not until those first one, and if you're fortunate, those first ones are kind of grandparents, the older people, and this one was kind of like unexpected a little bit. Hey, tell her to be quiet.
yeah. So
Just kidding. Anyways,
yeah, no, it is.
um, yeah. Anyways, we don't need to kick off the fucking
I'll probably
train.
I'll probably should I just dip out for 1 second and be right back?
If you
If
want.
we if you
Sure.
okay, I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
So currently, Justin's studio doesn't have a door on it, so you can hear, obviously other people upstairs. We apologize, everyone. It happens. But not to kick off this show talking about death and all that. It's just kind of what was going on in my life and what I was dealing with this week. And Justin brought it up, so we're gonna talk about it, and we did. And now we're gonna move on as soon as he gets back from
All right. They said they're shutting down.
shutting down. Huh?
Yeah. Fam Jam's making noise. It's the style of the Rambler house, dude. It's like staircase, open basement. It's not ideal for like,
I'm sure there's probably audio of
but
my dog Otis clacking around. I don't have a.
we're going back in the back room later on. So the master bedroom, do a setup in there.
Yeah,
That's what we're gonna have to do.
we'll get it dialed in. We're kind of just like I've said that. I basically talked you into doing a podcast with me, and you fit it in when you can, and on on cue, Otis comes clacking down here.
I could hear that. Yeah. It's funny.
We're just normal guys living
Yeah.
regular
It's
lives. Just we got
we,
our
we
animals, we got our families. We're just
maybe Cy can edit out what he wants because like yeah, it was like it's just funny. It's like yeah,
yeah,
you got those two types of mics. The USB condenser mics pick up everything, dude. Like if
yeah,
you have your gain turned on, it's just like it picks up everything. Even though you have like filters and stuff. Like I have that Elgato noise gate going on. You know what I'm saying? And I have that AMD suppression, but I'm
yeah.
using one of them. It still picks up the sounds.
No. Well, it's a
So
Saturday night. We're usually recording on a Thursday, but due to
mm.
everything that I had going on, we had to push it till tonight. And
Dude,
it's
and
just
speaking of like being a Saturday, the neighbors like we had the windows open because I accidentally had the air off, so it's freaking 77 degrees in the house and it's like hot. And they sound like they're in my front yard. They're like, "Oh, come on, Eric!" Ah, ah, ah." They're like playing bags and like cracking cans, and
having a good old
guy
time.
sounds like he's 10 feet outside my window. You know,
He's sitting on your couch. You walk in the living room. He's sitting like, "What are you doing?" I don't know.
you know.
He's like, the windows were open, so I figured,
I go outside. I'm like, "Why is it so cold outside and so hot in this house?" Well, obviously the air's off, but still.
you gotta have those fans blowing in, man.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's running around and you're cooking, and you got the oven on here and there, and the lights and TV, and
Yeah, it's fun. Oh shit.
yeah,
Well,
man.
Otis, you gotta go lay down. We're just dealing with some, our animals and our families, and he'll go to lay down eventually. But anyways, so on this week's episode, after we just got kicked off with our, update on our personal lives, as everybody I'm sure is thrilled to learn about. But we have another list of locations varying from all kinds of different degrees, and how I picked these ones this week, kind of random, kind of like, okay, it's a variety of just completely different places. It's kind of what, I don't want to do all just a bunch of big rocks stacked on top of each other. I want to do some other like sh- crazy looking structures. So we'll get into that. And before we start, there's so the like the dating system of like AD, BCE. You know anything about that, Justin?
Just the basics like AD after death, BC before Christ,
Okay.
right? And the other one you mentioned
I mean,
was
that's one way of looking at it. So BC is actually BCE, which is before Common Era. So there was
oh,
never, yeah,
never
there
even
was
heard of
never,
that.
yeah. So that's what actual. I mean, so in the there's why time is a whole nother. We could spend a whole podcast on time and how it was in
Well, for sure.
calendars and all that. It's wow. But time as we know it today and over the last couple thousand years, um, so before Common Era, there was never a year zero, and BCE dates back to, so it goes counts backwards basically. Like as of now, we go next year's 2026. BCE it's the other way around. So BCE dates back to 4041 BCE with Egyptians that lived in Mesopotamia, which Mesopotamia was on the other side of the would have been the Red Sea. And oh, you gotta go lay down.
Yeah, speaking of, bro, when we go over like the pyramids and stuff in Egypt, it'll be pretty cool,
So yeah, that's
pretty
that's
fire.
so that's where so that dates back to, we're talking. So you had 4,000. We're talking 6,066 years ish. That time actually dates back to only 6,600. Like that's not that long ago, really. When you think of the concept of time and how long they say Earth, how old they say Earth is, and they say that I may have said this on the podcast before, but they say if the length of time of Earth was a football field, the time that man has been recorded on that, it would be a blade of grass on a football field. Like the Earth is billions of years old, but we only have that one. Because if you think of like the difference between you and I have talked about this, and I don't know the exact math, but like a million seconds is like a few weeks, and a billion seconds is like a couple decades. That's the difference between a million and a billion. So if you think about, I'm hoping I'm not losing anybody here. If you think about how the Earth is what 3.5 billion years old, they say how much time and
Hmm.
how much time we have recorded of man. And I don't know, it's just kind of crazy because that okay. So and I lay that foundation because of these structures that we look at. We always want to know a time period of when they were built, and I think a lot of them are a lot older than that we say they are. And so
Oh yeah,
that's just the concept of time.
yeah. And speaking of time too, it's like with time, there's like seconds, and there's like what is it, nanoseconds and milliseconds. So milliseconds is like when you blink your eyes, that's like 30, 40 milliseconds, whatnot. But like I always compare the whole time thing is like what I was talking about with the campfire, where like you start a campfire and then you stop, like with the sun, right? You got the sun and the earth. Like let's say some people believe the sun's dead. So it's like and it's just burning, right? So it's like if we started a fire and we stopped adding wood and stopped stoking it, that all of a sudden you had all these generations of like all this life and all these humans that lived while the fire is going and they pass away and they live and pass away and live and pass away and it's just burning down until it's like if you don't like let's say when you add wood to the fire, like if the sun was powered and it went out, you know what I mean, and you didn't add anything to it all that time. Does that make sense with like all the with all the with all the generations of people you have living through there, if you don't stoke it, how it just goes for hours and hours and hours, and that can be like the billions and billions of years.
Yeah.
So
So are you saying so?
I'll have to load like a thing later for it, but
I'm not 100% following what you're saying. Like, so you're saying that like, well, first of all, there's been life, evidence of life found, half a million years ago. So that timeline's already been, you know, destroyed as far as like, because they figured, Neanderthals and all that was maybe 10,000 years ago.
right.
And of very primitive beings. And some of the sites that we're going to talk about today are going to dispute that or have completely disputed that. But then there's also been found evidence has been found of like there's been some jewelry in caves found that's like 375,000 years old. I wish I would have loaded that up. I just thought about it right now.
And also
Um,
myself, I scuffed the whole sun thing. I flopped it. I have it, but I mentioned it to side before, but I'll reiterate like what I mean with it. Like for instance, when you like building a fire, the wood's there, the fire is burning. Like when the sun was born, and it's burning, nothing's added to it. Like I'll explain it again later. I totally scuffed it. Sound like an idiot, but my bad, dude. Yeah, I got
no,
it.
I kind of get where you're going, but I
It's like let's say you have a bonfire going for like
okay.
5 hours and it burns through the night.
Uh-huh.
Within that 5 hours was like billions and billions of like of years. You know what I mean? Like the sun was born, the campfire was born. It had all the energy that it
Okay.
needed to
Yeah.
fuel itself. There was nothing added to it. But then let's say when you add your last piece of wood and the fire is burning, it's like it's not dead. It's just there's nothing being added. Like it's fully lit and it's gonna burn off of what it has. And it's like the
Mhm.
sun. Some say saying like how well they're looking at it like could it be dead and it's just burning off what it has, but it being dead and burning off what it has is over the course of like so long. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
So
I'm picking up what he's
I
putting down.
scoffed her, but
No, no, I got you. Yeah.
I'll
So,
explain it.
hey, it's like a long drive down a windy road. It just took us a while to get there. That's all.
But it's yeah.
No, I appreciate the analogy. It was good. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I don't even know where to go
I
from.
don't know why I brought that up. I was thinking I was trying to do like an analogy, a comparison, but yeah, totally scuffed it, man.
No,
But
you.
it was with the time thing.
Yeah. No.
But
So to clarify what you're saying, because I speak Justinese, the time of the bonfire would be like the total time of like the sun shining and the time of Earth. So like it's like a time lapse thing, is what he's getting.
but
Think of
that's
it as
yeah.
a time lapse of the sun and all that. Yeah, if you were to be able to see a time lapse of like the Earth history and the whole time of the creation, then we'd be able to understand, because we'd be like, okay, boom, it was born, and then there was some trees, and there was water, and there was dinosaurs, and then they died, and then there was meteor. I mean, God, what could have happened over billions of years? Who
I
knows?
think it's because I brought it up because there was some things I was researching on about how it would just be it would be dead in a way that like it's still just burning off its heat and still doing its thing for like a long time. But
Before, yeah, because it's gonna take like however many light years to get here once it blows up, something like that.
but even though we're like rabbit holing, or I'm
Yeah,
sorry y'all because I made side rabbit hole, but like it talks about like it's just crazy because like will the sun be dead in 7 billion years? Like our sun's death is a long way off, about 4.5 billion years, give or take. It's just all this stuff. I watched this. There's this really sweet ass like YouTube video where it shows like a time lapse and it's like 70 billion years or something
hmm,
or whatever, and it showed like the Earth being like a faded mantle. But I'll have to show you that like later on.
yeah, it'd be fun.
I watched it last year, but it's pretty sweet.
Interesting.
All
Well,
right,
should we go ahead and just dive into our first location?
yeah, man, let's do it. So
So we're gonna take a trip to Bolivia. If you don't know where
Bolivia,
Bolivia is, in South America, we could call it South Central America. Yeah, yay.
and we
And
got some images of this place called
Pumapunku.
Pumapunku.
And
So
so again, they're calling this ancient Incan. They're crediting it to the Incas. And there's no real, no, it's just like a field with a bunch of these stones that are carved like this, and there's not really a why or what they were doing, what they were for. Like I
looks
said,
like it
this
says about 14 acres.
14 acres of just massive, hundred stones that are hundreds of tons. And I believe the closest quarry was like 10 kilometers, which is, I don't know, I don't know how to, less than 10 miles. I don't know, let's just say that. Which, okay, is fine, but still, you're moving hundreds of tons stones. Um, you know, miles away. And the H blocks are the ones that are,
That's what I noticed. That's what was odd when I was first looking up the place a little earlier was these H stones.
and it's just like there's a ton of them. The place is just scattered with them, and there's no real known reason or purpose for them. There's no like other like site that has them like laid out in another fashion, or they're
So this
just
is obviously isn't like a replica, a one for one scale. This isn't like because you look at it, and it looks like a common. It looks like recent, but just because it's familiar with our letter H, right? But
right. And that's the thing, is
that's
like,
odd.
were they used like somehow like linked together somewhere? Because you could see that as maybe a purpose. Somehow they were linked. Just
Hmm.
looking at them, like what
Like
would
in
these
like a
pieces?
channel lock or something like that.
Yeah,
Like when you
something
do
like that.
flooring and shit, or like walls or whatnot.
Right.
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, what else? Like you're trying to figure out, okay, what were these for? And that's what any kind of person who's done, you know, any kind of work around the house or whatever, you know what I mean? Like there's places, and to me, I don't know, my my mind goes to extraterrestrial type of stuff. Like, what were these used for? Like, were they landing strips? Were they made as some kind of like launch pad type of thing? Like, look at these things. And you've seen in the other pictures that were closer, like you could see the precision in those cuts.
that's what I was right.
And this is all granite, like not easy to carve with, you know, a hammer and a chisel. And they're all just out there. What? Why? Why? What-
Yeah, I'm gonna have
like
to go ahead and lock this display so it stays on, and then
it for
'cause,
me, it's
this is like
also another one. 'Cause if you see a better picture of, there's a couple of them that are just like straight doorways, which again leads me to put your tinfoil hats on, people. A more of an extraterrestrial element to what these are, because they're like doorways. Doorways to what? You're building massive doorways to nothing. What were these used for? Like that one, that's a good picture. If you have
dude, this is so weird because it's like this
can you enlarge that at all?
um they're giving off like this like Vex Gate type vibe. Let me see if I can. No, because it's just we can zoom in, but like the window we have is like the same size. Let me see something.
Like just look at, and this is I believe
Yeah, because if I hit magnify on here, I
it's
think I
just
know why.
to figure out the visuals. And I believe that in the timeline for something like this is those are tiny. Very uncertain because, like, first of all, who knows? Like, you can't really look at this.
So what? It's a whole 14 acres of like these H stones. You say they're out of granite. I want to get an area view or something like that, but I'm trying to I'm think of the word of what it would be for like this like portal kind of like
I mean, and then they have this whole other slab here, that was carved out of, I mean, I maybe existing rock, but like,
you know what's really weird is if I scroll back here to this one, or it's even right here too. But like there was a piece here where it shows like as if it was like a terminal or something that like powered up whatever the hell this was or something weird.
hmm
Because they talk about like with the pyramids how they have like it's like these little like squares that go in. Because this is crazy, dude. Like some of these like go in and like interlock, and for what's the precision needed for unless it's like even up here are these like it's like today's concept of when you have like pieces like a plastic tab that goes in. When it goes in, it like clicks downward to lock it in. If you want to go, you got to depress it and pull it
yeah,
back.
you know,
Like that's insane, dude. Why would they even have that? Yeah, like right here. You know,
well, and there's no timeline of when because you can't carbon date rock, because it's as old as time. You have a carbon date and living organism, a living organism, and which trees and stuff like that. And that's how they carbonate stuff in the pyramids, is because there's straw and things that were used. I don't want to spoil anything, but that's how those things were carbonated. But you can't carbon date stone, and there's no way to know when this was built, why it was built, what it was used for, and what its purpose was. But clearly some race of people took a whole lot of time and effort to carve these things.
So why is that with like stone or whatever? You think that like you think they would take like a piece or like scrape it, but even if they did, they're just gonna find like common minerals and
Well, you're right.
materials that we know of. But
Yeah, you can't like do a core sample. Like, let's say you drilled a hole into the middle of that stone and you took a sample out. It's not going to tell you anything because the stone is way older than whenever it was carved.
yeah,
And there's not really a way to. I mean, there certain kinds of. It depends upon like stone is different, like granite and stuff like that. Like, but like if you can take ice cores of earth, and sometimes there would be stone in an ice like a core sample. Again, I'm not a scientist or anything. I'm just really into this kind of stuff. Um, like if you took a core sample of a place, they do core samples in ice, and they find like in the glaciers, and you'll find like ice, and then you'll find a layer of soot and ash and dirt, and then
hmm
ice. So that's how they core sampled and figured out about like the younger dryas effect is like okay, where there was ice, and then there was a layer of dirt and soot, and then there was ice again. So clearly there was ice age, something happened, ice age again, you know.
dude.
Um, but you can't carbon date stone.
It's right, right. I guess I think it's curiosity. They have two rovers on Mars, or did, or they have the one up there. But I guess I like curiosity is just getting stones just to see what minerals are up there. But
Yeah.
obviously, that's the only reason they're taking them and extracting them back. But yeah, you're right. It would just tell us what materials are there, but we don't know how long it's been there for. But it's funny because I mentioned like gateways, dude. But it's like it says Puma Pinku holds several miniature gates that are perfect replicas of once standing full size gateways. In addition to these miniature gateways, likely at least five. See that word gateway? That's what it was. Just that's what it reminded me of like some images I seen online. But at least five gateways and several blind miniature gateways were once or were intended to be integrated into a complex, the monumental complex. The foundation platform of Pumapunku supported as many as eight andesite, if I'm botching that, gateways. The fragments of five gateways with similar characteristics to the gateway of the sun were found.
Okay, so it was andesite, which is actually harder to
Andesite, yeah.
it's actually harder to carve than granite. So and just heavy as hell.
See, like here's a badass. This is a high res photo, but you have these like stupid little
Think
designs like
about
copyright thingies. Let me put my little swirly on there.
something straight out of Star Wars right there, man. For real.
I've never seen stones as far as like what we've been looking at and what we've seen that have these fine lines. Like, dude, look at this one.
It's just crisp.
They're interlocking pieces. But this makes no sense. This is really amazing because this makes no sense because this is not if you were gonna stack stones, you would stack stones, and the weight of the stone, 99.9% of the integrity would be there just because it's so damn heavy and it's not gonna move. But if this I if we're talking way back then, Si, and these are like granite or whatever they are,
And it
I
really
mean, they
doesn't.
appear to be like, why would you like, if I took and cut this out right here, would it even matter? I don't get what is that even for?
Well, and the thing about this is the
Dude, that
timeline.
makes me wonder.
It could be 400 years ago. It could be 4,000 years ago. It could be 400,000 years ago. We have no idea.
What is yeah, that's
And I would think more, and I didn't throw out 40. I would say it's probably about 40,000 years old. I think around that time, there was a peak civilization
damn.
globally, and they were on and popping until that younger Dryas happened about 11, 12,000 years ago. And then I think
Yep.
that's when all this shit fucking, I
It
think
says
it was,
the largest stone they have there is 7.81 meters, 25.6 feet long, um 3 feet 6 inches thick, and estimated to weigh 131 tons. Let's just say, 2,000 times that. That's, 2,000 pounds a ton.
that's insane.
That's insane.
Hundreds of thousands of pounds.
again, these like places with like these old places with these old heavy stones. You know what I mean? It
Well, it
just makes you
makes
wonder
and
because
that
it's like
yeah, and they
ain't
were
nobody
like,
driving a front end loader back then.
no. And a lot of them like, well, they had ropes and pulleys and they used a lot of manpower and they
Yep, just like what we talked about before, or just like what you hear online. It's just like,
gravity and they used ramps, built ramps. Like, you know how big of a fucking ramp you would need?
yep. We
Where's the
sprinkled diamond on the ground and everybody was marching and we poured water and the vibrations and
there's a place we need to we once we get to the Americas, we're gonna go. Like we're building up everybody, and we're gonna just talk about some stuff in America. But there's a place called the Coral Castle. I don't want to spoil it. If you want to look it up ahead, go ahead, people, and then we're gonna discuss it. But there's a place in Florida called the Coral Castle that supposedly
Coral Castle.
this guy used. He had the secret of the Egyptians, and he built this place. Just this one little frail man, and yeah. So there's a theory of like moving these stones with possible levitation, using sound vibrations, music, like we were talking about earlier, music, man. Music's been
Mhm.
around um as long as people have and maybe longer. But just how did they do this stuff? How did they move these stones? They just had a bunch of I mean, I get it. Maybe they were giants. Hmm, that's another theory right there. Maybe they were really big people, but then why did they make such small doorways? And then there's other buildings that were supposedly built by little people with very big doorways. You know what I mean? Like like some of the places we looked at, and I think there's a few on our list today that there's very big doorways built by very little people. And our whole timeline is kind of screwed and skewed as far as, when was this stuff? Like, there's no timeline for this. We have no idea. No idea who built it. Oh, the Inca did it. The Inca did it. Okay. But speaking of timelines, our next topic has thrown the ancient history timeline completely off. It's
Good
as
old Göbekli Tepe.
Gobekli Tepe. I've been waiting for this one. It's visually, it's crazy, but it's even more crazy when the known timeline and they did some carbon dating on some of the woodwork that was in this place that dates back to 9500 to 8000 BCE. And as I stated before, the current timeline for BCE was 4041. So that would be roughly 6,000 whatever 600 years ago. 600 yeah, whatever. This
I liked
one,
watching oh, sorry about I liked watching Hancock's whole thing on this
and yeah, so
Ancient Apocalypse.
for those of you who have seen Ancient Apocalypse, you know what we're talking about. For those of you who haven't, go check it out. It's on Netflix. Graham Hancock, a guy
It's
that
good.
was ostracized from the archaeology community for some of his takes and basically saying that you guys are wrong about some of this stuff. Like the timeline isn't what you think it is, or isn't what you say it is. And people were Zahi Awas, which doesn't even really deserve a mention on our podcast,
Yeah,
but whatever. But he's
it's
one. Well, these guys tried to blackball Graham Hancock from like the whole thing because he questioned everything, which
sure.
deserved questioning.
And the thing is, we're humans. It's like at your company, you have a person usually who's called a continuous improvement manager, right? So we as a people, why would we not continuously improve to include maybe breaking the narrative of what they want to exploring new things or finding out new information or always learning? You know what I mean?
Right.
So Graham exposed that, and he's like, "Well, what if this and that?" You know,
And they didn't like that.
they didn't like that because we're breaking their narrative, and you know all this stuff.
So do you want
It's
to take
like scratching the surface of all the documents of everything that's been documented already.
yeah. And we have no idea. We have no clue about what our actual history is, about who was here before us, what was here before us, what happened. We have no idea. It's all speculative. It's
Hmm.
all
Sorry, I cut you off. Si. You were saying you wanted me to go.
Oh yeah, could you go ahead and take us around
Yeah, yeah,
Gobekli Tepe? So we're talking
the other side,
a good 11,000 years at least since this place was last inhabited, and it was also deliberately buried in sand.
dude. Yeah, I was just gonna say. So from what I know, is they went in and this was all covered,
Covered
correct?
in
And they,
and you could say deliberately buried in sand, and you could say, or maybe a lot like some other things like the keep going back to the Great Pyramid, but the Sphinx was covered in sand up to its head, basically when it was discovered by modern people. And you could say maybe it was purposely filled in with sand, like they had this religion. It's basically a very celestial word you love, Justin.
I
Um,
do.
and aligning with the stars. And there's a bunch. They say there's only like 15% of it or something like that is actually uncovered to this day. But what was weird is this one's in Turkey, and at one point in time, the Turkish government, I believe it was, came in and planted a bunch of olive trees, like right next to it, because in that country the olive tree is protected, so you can't cut them down. So they planted all these olive trees in like an effort to make it so they couldn't dig up anymore because there's more to be found here, which is wild. But then there was this other. Then eventually it got reversed. So like, now we're gonna, because then if you let these olive trees grow here, it's gonna mess up anything that could be below with the roots. It was a really weird thing in this site that they did that. So eventually there was a reverse order. They were like, no, we're gonna dig up the olive trees, move those, keep excavating, and yeah. So Gobekli Tepe is.
Yes, sir. And I was looking too. You would never, you would never know. Let's just say that this is, let's say from here to here. Let's say we're talking 12, 13 feet. If it's all covered, you would never know. And what else could there be? I mean, this is. I mean,
You
you
mean
would never know. You never know it's covered.
if they just poured sand in there?
You never know, dude.
But I
It's just
mean, and for me too, I'm wondering like a
it's
lot of
amazing.
like the covered in sand part. I'm wondering if that was wash over, but it was like, but everything was still standing. If it was wash over from like a flood, we're just gonna go to the Great Flood. Um, you would think a lot of stuff would have got knocked over. Like I was watching a lot of stuff of like the hurricane and
Yeah,
get wrecked shit.
we're
It's
talking mad volume of like of like what was I gonna say? Mad volume of just something coming through. It would
yeah,
be it would crush and it would break and it would crack. Like you can see close up. Like some of these might have whatever from age, but I mean these would have, especially being top heavy like this, they would have cracked or possibly fallen. But
but it was like, yeah. So that's why I think it was intentionally buried. And all these places, like some of them now that they've uncovered it, they have like beams supporting them so they don't tip over. And there's like a roof over it now, and um
yeah, like when they went through and like when they were, I know when there was archaeologists doing whatnot, they would go and if a piece maybe thought it made sense to go nearby where it may have fell off, they'd put it back to kind of get an understanding. And
well, so okay, here's a good picture. This is what I was gonna say next. Like in on all of these columns, they're not just columns, they have all these like carvings on them. And a lot of them are pretty interesting as far as like what they were carving, what they were maybe worshiping back then, and um
dude,
so yeah, there's it now with the roof over it, which is a good idea.
yeah, that's the thing too, because I don't. Yeah, when I suppose when it would be, even though the stone has whatever for integrity, if they were to take all the materials out and expose it to the elements, it's like if you have a large tree in your front yard and you have great grass. If you cut that tree down, that shaded 60% of your lawn,
Right.
your grass is gonna die. It can destroy it, like the elements. So this
Right.
could get destroyed too if it
Well, a
wasn't
good
covered.
yeah, I have a good example is that like I'm an avid rock collector. I like rocks. I like rocks from all anywhere, and I always ask people, "Bring me back a rock if you go somewhere."
Oh, I have a little rock
So,
story.
dude, so
I do.
I collect rocks from I have rocks from all over the country. I came back from Arizona once with 90 pounds of rocks in a suitcase. Like, we had petrified wood, everything. They're like, so I have a whole collection. So what I used to do is like kind of decorate my front little um what do you call them? Where you have rocks in your front thing, like a rock bed type deal. So I used to
Rock
have
garden.
right, yeah, rock garden. So I had all my rocks, cool big ass rocks, and ones that I got from places like Arizona or certain places in Utah or just certain rocks. Being here that were in Minnesota, Wisconsin, they would deteriorate because they would go through a winter and then a summer and then a winter, so they started it wasn't their element. It wasn't where they were from. So
Yeah.
these rocks started to crumble. I mean, we're talking beautiful rocks. And I had to bring them inside. I had to bring them into you know, because they weren't in their element, so they just started to crumble, which is why we have the roof over Gobekli Tepe. And so those okay, so go back. Can you go back one?
Mhm.
So I think
Oh, wow, yeah, why did I pass
so
that?
these so you see the blotches of green, like, so to our right is Gobekli Tepe, the site, and then these other rows, those are the olive trees that they planted. Those were like, oh, we're gonna plant olive trees right here, because then you can't cut them down because it's sacred or whatever, like
So these
law.
are all olive trees?
So those are all where they planted all the olive trees. They're like, oh, we're gonna plant these right here, and then they're like, but if what if there's something underneath there? Like, oh, we can't cut them down. It's illegal. You just can't. It's almost like but there's known to be more underneath there. So now they have reversed that order where they were going to relocate the olive trees. It was like a
Huh.
weird way to like try to block further
Sure.
expeditions in,
Yeah, that makes sense.
in the site. Yeah, weird. They're like, okay, you found out too much, and that's the thing. It's like when we talk about this ancient history stuff, there's almost like and one thing I wanted to get to is the UNISEC. We've talked about that a couple times, and like all these sites become UNISEC heritage sites, and then they basically come in and take over and say, okay, this is a UNISEC heritage site, so we control what happens, what's found, what's uh, made known to public, what's shared, and it's kind of a weird deal, but this is Gobekli Tepe, everyone, if you haven't already discovered.
Yeah, Graham's whole, like, documentary on that is, like, it's really cool because I think isn't that yeah, it's Ancient Apocalypse, and they incorporate, like, other things too with, with the meteorites and, like, the burning through the ground and, like, the layer of rock where it shows, like, scorching, and it's pretty
Right.
cool.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So Göbekli Tepe too is like with some of these so like they have the what is this? Would this be I'm gonna botch it totally, but we have all the what is it where you call the things in space, like how you have
Oh,
the
constellations?
constellations, yeah. So there's in Göbekli Tepe, they have some I think I'm right with this, I'm just gonna guess. They have some of these images of what lines up today in our whole
Right. Yeah, if and they somehow these are for people that are way smarter than myself, they can tr- track the Earth's access back to. That's why they know that like the Great Pyramids again were aligned to Orion's belt with the god Osiris, and then these places would have been aligned with certain constellations at that time, 11,000 years ago. When you kind of reverse engineer the tilt of the Earth and all that stuff is where it would have been. It's like people think of like the Earth like rotates the sun and it goes around like it's different than that. And It's not just, oh, you go around and around and around. There's like a whole like m- bigger movement to all of it. And again, I'm not a scientist, and I don't want to botch it, but there's just more to it than what we really think. So like you kind of line up it. That's why there's eclipses, and that's why there's all that, all that stuff, and why
Yeah.
certain times we can see other planets, and because we're yes, we're rotating, but it's like a bigger axis. It's like one of those things where you see like you see them in movies where there's like all the planets and it's rotating around, but it goes around, but it does it at different rotations, if that makes sense, like at different angles. It's complicated. I don't mean to lose anybody on that, but it's look it up, look into
Yeah,
it.
there's some of the areas where if it would have like whatever creature or image at that time or during current whatever they found was that the marking on the pillar or the area would match celestially.
And they might have had different interpretations of what those constellations meant to them. Like we know, like Taurus, and we know all these constellations as we know them. They may have seen them completely different, and also it was a completely different sky than we see. You imagine what the sky was like 11,000 years ago? Like,
I wonder if I'm sure they have, but just for fun. But see, like when it comes to like scientists, like they don't want to do things just for fun because they go off of the data and they kind of work and like play and do their thing of what makes sense, right? Like they
yeah.
do they state the facts and they might even in conversation they might engage what they know as facts and stuff, but it'd be cool to run like some AI generator where it would show what could go back like type it looked like or looked like back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Like all when it was like fresh and bright when it was built. Like
I mean, I
what was it with full integrity? What did it look like? The foundation. That'd be interesting.
and they could take a guess, but who really knows though? Like who really knows was there a roof on it? What did the people look like? What were they We have no idea. No idea.
Like I myself don't even know. Like I don't know what it was even.
Well,
See with this.
I mean, they say it was like kind of you know, there's a lot of what's the word, like religious, a place of worship, you know, kind of
Yeah.
just a place to worship the gods, which was what they say about everything. That's everything. They were worshiping gods,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it kind of makes you wonder what gods were they worshiping, you know? Did they just make up like, okay, this is a god, and that we
See,
can
this is
talk
crazy.
about.
It's cool because some of the things just go down. There's like these little channels or pits or tunnels. Like there's areas that go down below and however far. But like if you look at this, it's like imagine being like, all right, and then we go boom, drop down, boom, 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 walk down the thing. It's like, dude, all these two are like this is the one image we have from before, but
And this is what it looks like 11,000 years later. We build a retaining wall, and 10 years later, you got to fix it. Like,
this is insane. Gosh.
what makes you think, like, with these, like, we'll call them T blocks? Like, was there some other thing going on with those? Like, was there
If
some,
we look, yeah, if we look here, it's like now let's just say you're doing this freely by hand, like the alignment here. I'm just looking at it's like this artisan, like if you look at the heads and everything, the neck, the body, the scaling. But if you look here with these two heads, like the perfect roundness going around with like a tool, with just a tool. It's insane.
yeah. You imagine what those people were built like? Whoever did that?
Yeah. Some more photos of it. Like look at this.
And
That's
there's another,
insane.
yeah, there's another one not far away. I can't remember off the head of
Yeah,
my,
I heard about that too. Something with a site like nearby or whatnot.
yeah.
That's pretty cool, dude.
So
Gobekli Tepe.
Gobekli, and that's the thing is like previously, like I said, BCE was dated back to 4041. So that was like the beginning of time of man because that's when it was recorded. And the Mesopotamians, and then you have the Sumerians. But this one blew that timeline out of the water and really kind of sheds a light on we don't really know what we think we know as far as timeline of human history and all that stuff. So I don't know. Pretty cool.
Yeah, so that terracotta army.
The tomb of Quin Shi. Yeah, the Terra.
Terracotta army.
I figured this one would be a fun one to look up because it's just wild.
Yeah, you
It's
mentioned this one I think like a week or two ago. Oh, what's all this there side? Huh. Let me see.
it's yeah.
Whoa.
And this goes back to BCE as well. Built between 38 years, 246 BCE to 208. As again, we're counting backwards. And for some reason, um, King Quin Shi, who became king at age of 13, reigned for uh, blanking on the number of years, long time. Eventually, wanted to build the. I mean, this is what the timeline tells us. Back in
I just read
BC's,
it. Yeah.
did you? So, and we're talking over 2,000 years ago. Almost 2,200 years ago, that this tomb was built with these terracotta warriors, and there's thousands of. I mean, they have a they have a and a lot of them have been vandalized over the years. Once they were found, they came in like that dude's missing his head, and but all these warriors were just built as a
These
there
guys were built to
there you
protect they were built to protect him in his afterlife.
there you go. There you
So
go.
so let's play it safe, guys, and let's build all of this to protect him in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Bro,
First emperor of China,
seriously.
Qin
That is
Shi.
insane. This is like what is this? My gosh.
Like, and each one is different. No terracotta warrior is the same. They didn't put them in a
Yeah,
they
let's get
didn't
some close-ups there.
dude, they didn't put them in a mold and just spit them out. They're all
Bro, like so these were built to protect him in the afterlife. Like, yeah, this is insane. It's like the whole thing with the gosh, I'm losing words here with with the people we talked about the other day. The hominidity or what was it? They were buried with their tools and
oh
that
yeah.
whole thing we talked about. Like, yeah, it's like be buried with like bury me with my so and so I can be protected in the afterlife and take it with. But you're right, they are all they look a little like the facial features and everything.
It's almost
That
like
is just nuts.
look at them. They're all different. Not one is the same. It's almost like they were sculpted after. Like yes, they're like chest plates, but that's like their uniform. Like their faces, hairstyles, everything is just a little different.
Discovered in 1974 by local farmers. What's that all about?
I haven't read about that. I don't know because I believe like some things they're probably. I mean,
Yeah,
this
it's
would have been of Chinese lore. Like everybody would have known about this.
right.
Like if there was a tomb, I mean, and 2,000 years old, like there would have been stories. Like there's stories that date back to other stuff that's that old. There was no.
Estimates from 2007 were that three pits containing the terracotta army hold more than 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots with 520 horses, and 150 cavalry horses, the majority of which remain in situ in the pits near Quinchi's mausoleum. That is,
And yeah, and the horse ones are crazy too because
bro.
they have like horse and carriage of these like
Oh,
in
wow, we
there.
gotta see
You
that.
should see if you can find that. Like, dude, it's wild.
I never even knew about this, never saw it. This is where, like, if you were in there at night and you had, like, the lights on low and you could just, like, drop a dime
I
and,
bet
like,
they
would one of these guys' heads turn like this
I bet they
and look,
come up. They
you know what I'm
probably
saying? You oh,
I bet it's like night at the museum. They all come to
yeah,
life.
dude. Yeah, 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 yeah. Just freaky.
Dude. It's almost like you had a whole bunch of fucking like your whole army and they got like frozen time down there. You know, you said 8,000 of them.
8,000.
8,000. Like what the what? 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 Yeah, if you
Yep.
the horse ones, if I send you the horse one, would you be able to look it up or is it too late for that? I think I have it.
No, no, we can do that, yeah.
It's a new discovery thing.
Okay.
I'll check this.
I can see some of the horses behind these things, but you want me to look up now, why is this one gold? You want me to look up kinda like what these guys are, but the horse ones?
Yeah, if we could see the horse ones, that'd be sweet.
Okay. I think I'm just gonna I'll pop off this just for a second. That is crazy. I'm gonna go through here.
And then supposedly they did it in 38 years. I don't know if I said that before or not. Um, so even 30, I mean 38 years, okay, that's what do we do? You know, let's do the math. 8,000. So they made
Oh, let me see.
210 um 210 soldiers a year. So that would be, took them a little over a day, day and a half to make one, however many people. So every day and a half, they were pumping out a soldier, perfectly carved, all different.
Is this at Bowers Museum?
Yeah, we're doing this in real time.
So this is yeah, this is the site, but let me see here if
You're able to pop up just that picture.
yeah, let me see. Here we go from let me click this.
The tech man doing his thing. We're
Okay,
bringing it
here we
to you.
go.
All right, here we
Go
go.
here.
We gotta see this. It's and I think this one they actually took out and moved because I believe that um
I couldn't do your link directly, but
okay.
so for instance, you have let me see if I can push I can't push it there. Let's see. Well, this shows
Some stuff that they pulled out. That's crazy.
because there's yeah, you want to show the horse ones, but let me see if I can do this. Because we just want to see the horse ones. Powers Museum. Let's
If I
see.
send you a photo, can you do that?
Mm-mm.
I sent you a photo. See if you can share that. There's some that's like so these were down there as well. Like you said, there was like however many hundred carriages as well.
Yeah.
Insanity. To protect the emperor, he's got to have his army with him.
Yeah, so since this is on my phone, I don't know how I can push it
That's okay.
or anything.
We see
Um,
horses. We got to see some horses, which I will be
yeah, what
doing.
I could do, I can pull it up here in just a moment. Let me go back here.
That's
So,
all right. Oh, we saw some horses, which I will be doing tomorrow at Canterbury Downs. Gonna go bet on some ponies.
well, you are going to go out there?
Oh yeah, we're gonna do it. Gonna go out, bet on some horses. They got food trucks out there this week. Canterbury Downs, everybody. Maybe they'd like to sponsor the show one of these days. And yeah, you got Matt's Bars out there with the food truck. You got, you know,
Okay, what I'll do is go here.
as the mad producer does his thing, trying to find us another image of these Quincy horses. It's pretty cool because it's like a whole carriage. It's like
Yeah. Sorry, y'all. It's just taking me a little while. It's because we're doing a different like screen share thing. So it's more, this one looks, let's
yeah,
see.
mad producers trying something new tonight.
Open this, go to here. Bro, look at this. Wow. Let me see. Okay. And then now, bam. Boom, boom,
There it
boom.
is.
Look at
That's what
that,
I'm.
dude.
Yeah, look at that. Is that
So we
not?
just so we just made this for our boy from the afterlife. Like I'm gonna tell you what, if I was a spirit rolling through that like area, like I wouldn't want to be there. But I'm just saying, like protect him in the afterlife. It makes sense. It's really intimidating that whole all those soldiers in there.
And like, how the heck? Like, really? Like, what did they do? How did they carve these? What they so they started with like a square block.
It's got to be like some kind of a plaster type thing or something, right? Like those guys aren't solid stone, I don't think, right?
Okay, so what do you build the framework out of?
It's got to be some kind of. It's just got to be like some kind of a cast or something, and it's just like a glaze or of a certain stone or something. I don't, because it's weird because 8,000 of those guys
But again, all of them
all
are,
carved like, and their faces are all different too.
and
It's like,
all these horses are different. Like what?
yeah, it's nuts. Even the eyes,
And they have like
the big eye, the smaller eye, this one, it's like people's, like, yeah, it's how you,
I don't know, man. It's just and they have like the things on them, like their little whatever the hell you call that, like those straps and stuff.
oh, like the bridal, like the,
Yeah,
whatchamacallit.
you got that on there. Like they're ready to go if they were to come back to like if the it's like one of the movies where like if you find this stone and you get the blood of the this and then you do it at this time at midnight, you squeeze it on this rock, everybody's gonna come to life. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I think
it's
so. It
just
said 570 horses and 120 chariots or
okay.
something like that. That's pretty nuts.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being that I was just at a funeral, I was talking to people. I'm like, I don't want all this. Whenever I pass, I don't need all. I think
Oh,
you and I talked about this.
it's
Like
so sad that like when we go, like we have to be like, we're just, somebody has to take care of it all.
paraded around and
Right.
like, man, yeah, it's just I don't need all that. You know, I don't need. You know, I will appreciate being remembered, but like, like I don't need all that. I just don't. And then sometimes
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Anyways, you know,
It's kind of this morbidity in a way where it's like, yeah,
right?
if something happens, it's like, oh, here I am
Yeah,
out on Lake Street and Fifth Avenue, or I'm at home in my bed, or, just come take care of me and do whatever. But
yeah. Like you said, you. your biggest thing is like somebody has to take care of it. It's like we both had situations like recently, like you had like a friend of a friend pass, and like stepdad,
Right.
like and then like
It's it's like
it's
even
like
when you're driving, when I'm driving and I see like a deer or whatever, and it's like you saw it, and the next day you go and you see it. 3 days later, it's sitting here and it's like on its side, and it's like, bro, I'm against like being like totally lazy, lazy, lazy. Like, you know what I mean? I like to chill, but I like to be driven a little bit. But it's just like get out there and pick that thing up. It's not gonna do it itself, and they do, but it's just they slack
who
and they
does that?
wait. But example of just when you go right there.
I think they just wait for like nature to take its course.
No,
You know what I mean? Like as long as it's like not in the middle of the road, I think they're like, some hawks and some vultures and some, this that'll come pick at it.
yeah, they'll
Eventually,
prime it up for us,
yeah, eventually it'll just like sink back into the earth. You know,
dude. This next place is like,
where we go? We're going to Portugal.
yeah. I'm trying to see if I can. Oh, why is it doing that? Let's see. Do I have to go to all or something? Let me see. Boom, boom, boom. Wow. All right. What do you know about this place, Mr. Cy Hansen?
All right, so we're at the Pina Palace in Portugal, and or Sintra, Portugal, where it was built between the time period of between 1842 and 1854, so just under 7 years. Apparently by King Ferdinand at the time. The site that it was built on was once a monastery for monks, and basically, I mean that dates back to the 1400s. And over time, it got struck by lightning, and also there was an earthquake that kind of destroyed the monastery. So apparently, old King Ferdinand wanted to build a summer home for him and his family, and he built this in
Really?
7 years in Sintra, Portugal, on top of
Looks
I
like the
can't.
perfect house.
I'm blanking on the name of the mountain. But it's perched. It has another name of like the palace in the sky because the clouds
Sintra
over.
Mountains. Is that correct?
Is it okay?
Sintra.
It is the Sintra Mountains. Okay, in Sintra, Portugal. I thought there was another name for it, but when the clouds roll in, like they'll roll in just at the base of this like cliff, so then all you can see, so they know it as the palace in the sky, because of the clouds will roll in just below the palace, and then you can see it, and it looks like it's just like floating in the sky apparently.
Oh, that's super
And
cool. I can
apparently it
picture
was
that.
built it in 6 years back in the mid 1800s, and
6 years.
it's just absolutely stunning. And if we wouldn't bring it up on this show, a lot of people would have no idea that this even exists.
I never knew. He's even got a mini castle on top of a palace castle.
You got castles upon castles.
When I look at this, it looks like part of like a medieval castle, a playhouse with a little mix of like other work from other cultures of it looks like a blend. To me, it looks like a blend of a blend of a bunch of designs, does it not? To me, it
Yeah,
looks like a mix of like 7 to 9, 10 different things. Okay, that's just a drawing. No, we need some larger ones. Oh, that's all I got on that one? Okay. Go back and get, so let me go here and click these. Yeah, but it just views the image one by one. Some of the sites let you, you know, what I mean, some of the sites let you pan through and then go through the arrow thing, but
Even that one though. Jesus.
gosh, is this a real photo?
Like what
Oh
was
my gosh,
what was Portugal doing back in 1850s that they just were like, yeah, we're gonna build this.
this is a real photo. Holy shit,
I need a summer home.
this is a real one. Damn, dude. Yeah, so this place. So who?
King Ferdinand.
Just a, yeah, castle's history started in the Middle Ages when a chapel dedicated to Our Lady of Penna, who was built on top of a hill in Sintra. According to tradition, construction occurred after an apparition of the Virgin Mary. That's what it just says. And um, in the 18th century, the monastery was severely damaged by lightning. However, it was the 1755 Lisbon earthquake occurring shortly afterwards that took the heaviest toll, reducing it to ruins, nothing less the chapel and its works of marble and alabaster, according to blah blah blah, escaped without significant damage. This is palace quickly drew visitors and became one of Portugal's most visited monuments. Over time, the colors of the red and the yellow faded, and for many years, the palace was visually identified as being entirely gray. By the end of the 20th century, the palace was repainted and original colors are restored. So, huh, that's crazy. Is there anything more you want to go on over it, or is there like inside,
No, just kind of
like,
whatever.
hello, like, what is this guy? You know what I'm saying?
Just look, yeah, just whatever we can see, just look at it. Just how crazy is that? Like,
That's insane. That design. Like, look at this.
and again, we're talking, you know,
This
100.
is like water ghoul man, like 10% mermaid, 90% hairy man.
What were they depicting
All,
and why? And why did they put that
all this
detail?
core, dude,
175 years ago, we didn't
bro.
have
Look at
airplanes and
this.
helicopters and power tools. Oh, it's pretty freaking crazy. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, this is not. This is stuff. This is like this is the level of like detail, and this is a place in real life. This is the level of detail in like some of like these, you know, like today's video games, dude. Like some of the stuff you see. Like this is not this is something you'd see out of a fantasy game over an MMO. Like this design. This is not that's crazy.
Well, don't you think that all that stuff, like when you think about ancient history and like all the stories and stuff that were told, like you think there's some truth to a lot of that? Like we can go back to like dragons and shit. Like, is there some truth to that? Like, is it all just stories? Why in the Chinese zodiac they have all these real animals and then they have a dragon?
Well, I believe that dragons could have existed, sure, but that they were of a bird and that their bones were hollow, so they dissolved to where they were hollow, so there's no fossils.
There you go.
So that could be a possibility. Instead of them being fire breathing like whatever creatures, that they were more of a delicate,
Right.
feathered, lightweight bird
Yeah.
in a vast size, you know. But
Who
yeah, who
knows?
knows? Could be, dude.
But it's just
You
that,
know.
what inspired these people to do some of the things that they do, some of the carvings that they made. Like you didn't just, there's got to be more to just story than that. It's more than just, huh,
Yeah,
it's
because think about it. Like even let's say you're looking at something that was 3, 4, or 5,000 years old. What obviously this isn't, but I'm just saying, like, if you came across this, and then in today's day and age, we watch movies of like ghouls and ghosts and like dragons and like, and they have these same designs, and like you see that this is a real life place. Like,
right.
what was going on at some of these
Yeah,
places 6,000 plus years ago? What
and
did
that's
they
kind of
see? Who was here?
and that's kind of my point is there's more to it than all the everything like that. There's more to ghost stories than just oh stories that scare you. Like there's a lot of them that are real. There's a lot of like there's more of just you know there's truth to a lot of things more than just myth and
Oh,
yeah.
sure. I mean, I think so. And just generally having an open mind, I'm open to, all that of like the awe and the wonder of like, just letting the mind run free and like, well, what if, like, could it be or could this have been or, it's cool to me. I'm interested in it. So yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and this one's just like it's just wow. There was a lot of effort putting into building this palace on a top of a mountain in Portugal back in the
Correct.
1850s. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, want to see some more crazy architecture? We can go to Kazan, Kurdistan.
Okay. Yeah. We'll head over that way. Mhm. All right.
Like I said, we have a variety of different types of locations where it's a
Just
lot of
flying around to
questions.
some cool places.
Yeah, and just the variety of structures and sculptures and the fact that they're all over the world. Like this is in Portugal. We've been in Bolivia. We've been in China. That's all we've been to so far today. But there's some crazy structures all over the world, and it's just we see what we build today. We see what we build over the last quarter century, and here we have Kazan, Tartarstan, and we have talked in length about Tartaria. And it's noted in history that there was a grand Tartarian empire and it's related to the Mongols and all of that. We've talked about that. But this is Kazan. Let me get it right. Tartarstan. Now, if there was ever a place that was linked to Tartaria, it would be Kazan, Tartarstan. Am I right? Like, come on. This place is just absolutely insane. Like you kind of said it looks like an something out of Alice in Wonderland. Am I right? Like, look at these buildings. Like some of
Yeah,
them,
yeah, the design is like it's like this fairy tale superpower or something.
and yeah, Kazan is actually right around like 50% Islamic people, so it's got a heavy Islamic presence. So that has something, but which back in the day before Russia was Russia, it was just kind of a before we had all these there was always borders like we have, but it was more of a territory of the Grand Tartaria, which was the Mongols, which is just north of the Middle East, basically, where it's at in Russia.
Says that Kazan is older than Moscow. Yeah, it's not only one of the oldest cities in Russia, but in Eastern Europe as well. It's about 150 years older than Moscow, officially founded in 1005 and
Yes.
became part of the longest Mongol Tatar empire in the world. The Golden Horde in the 13th century, Ivan the Terrible captured the city and brought it to the Russian Empire's reign in the 16th century.
So it was this old ass city, and then got captured, and now it's part of Russia. So before it was ever part of Russia and like what Russia is today as we know it, it was this whole other city. And how old are some of these buildings? There's not a lot of you can try to look up some of these buildings, and being that it's in Russia, there's a lot of very skewed information on what they're there for, why they're there.
Yeah, like what it looks like they use today's technology to build like this current like design, right?
But it's That's all.
I mean, however old this building is itself, it looks like they used today's technology to build something old looking. Cause like it's just like, and I've never seen anything like this in a building where there was a tower that went up with lights, but with green glass to give that glow. Doesn't that look badass?
Oh
I
yeah.
think it does.
I agree. That's why I
That's
want.
insane.
Yeah, and that's the
Like,
thing about it
okay,
is, yeah, if you look at some of the time dates, they're old. They're still old. They're not like built within the last 100 years. They're all old as you know,
that's
and that's where I still question: are they even maybe older than that? Because it was like you had like the Middle Ages between you know I don't know what do we want to say 1200 to like 1400 ish, 1600 until like and all that was kind of primitive when you have all these castles and like we can go even older than that. It's
yeah,
like there's still amazing structures and castles and stuff in Europe that were made built and they're amazing and they're incredible. But then like it's supposedly a very short time later we have stuff like when we're going to cover America, all the Capitol buildings where it's like these all some of these castles are very crude, and then some of these are just flawless. Like, look at this. And I'm sure some of this stuff has probably been restored over time, but still,
right.
what are you doing? Why are you? What's the point? Like,
What was the point of this whole place? It's like
like
Kazan is
these.
home to one of the largest mosques in Europe. It states on this actual fact sheet. However, in 1552, Ivan the Terrible stormed the city and destroyed. And it wasn't until 1996 that restoration began to take place. Finished in 2005, visitors can now see the mosque in its full splendor. Which this isn't. I don't know what building this is specifically, but um, yeah, this is. So this whole city, there's like this city and then like all these like badass like
It's just
buildings inside of it.
yeah, it's just full of these just incredible buildings. And apparently, back like around 1005 when it was founded, it's on the there's like two rivers that go through it. It's like on the banks of two rivers. So it was a huge trade route. That's why it, kind of blossomed as a city. But could you imagine, like we talked about earlier, where
Hmm.
what this was like when it was at its heyday? What was
Exactly.
what was going on?
I guess today for all the peeps out there, it's got a pretty poppin' nightlife with bars and everything, and the town's pretty active now as far as all that. But I'm intrigued by this design of like the blue and like the antique white with the green windows.
It's incredible,
Dude, I love this. It goes together perfect. The design,
you know.
the lighting. I think it's
And it
yeah,
happens to be in Kazan,
it's cool
Tatarstan,
shit.
Russia, which again,
Super cool.
if it wasn't for the show, those listeners would have no idea this would exist
Oh,
because
this is a
this is
real photo.
we
Yep.
go we go down the rabbit holes for you and we find these places and like hey what's some cool ass shit that people probably don't know about that we can talk about and boom here we are dude look at that like
Europe's longest river runs through the city at 3,700 kilometers, 2,300 miles. The Volga is Europe's longest river. It
oh,
starts in the Valdai Hills in northwestern Russia and eventually ends in the Caspian Sea. Kazan is set on the confluence of the Volga and Kazanka
oh
rivers.
there you go
Yep.
yep that's crazy dude like they just keep coming too it's not like oh look at this one building in Kazan no it's look at this building then look at this building then look at this one with the
It looks
golden
like there was a fresh coat of paint from last week and they freaking waxed the tops.
like
It just looks nuts.
what is going on there? Why do they need this?
Yeah, like what's up with all the intricacy from like the designs from back then? You know what I mean?
I mean, they put so much into that. Like today, we just throw up buildings with
It
cinder
is, yeah.
blocks.
Like we were talking like we have a wall and we just put the wall up and like back in the day they were like putting up a wall and they're like, "No, no, no. It looked too boring. You want to stare at just flat wall? You put designs inside wall." So you can stare, you know what I mean? It's just like, don't make it look too weak. Give it something to look at. Yeah? Okay.
Ex-
And then they're like, "Yeah, you're right. We want to look at this building for hundreds of years, so it might as well look cool to look at."
yeah.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
It's not like a CVS where you go there and it's gray and they got their red sign and that's it.
Mhm.
They might paint a
Yep.
stripe around it.
We're meeting the standard and the standard only.
Yeah. Today it's just like it's a building. We have a
This
bat.
was
Yeah.
this was obviously built, like, given whatever paints and stuff they use, this was obviously built to, like, be fun to look at, you know?
Yeah, it's supposed to be
That's what it
beautiful.
was all about.
It was meaningful. Like we're gonna build this building and we're gonna fucking make it
Gold,
like gold. We need gold and
full on
blues,
badass, yep.
reds, and it's
Or it
probably
looks like they went to, like, 47 different little mini castles around the world and put them all together into one house,
and
into one building.
that's probably like their equivalent of like a Denny's, or like something like that. Like
Uh,
they're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna make this giant bowl.
my
What
gosh,
is
look at this guy.
what
Look
is
how
this?
vicious he looks.
And that thing
Jeez.
too, like there's other they have a bunch of like that's why I brought up the dragon thing because they have a bunch of stuff like this around the city as well. And like even look at those lights, the little street lamps. Like, dude, those are old as shit. And like
This bowl, though, like, what the
I don't even know
hell?
what it is. I don't even know what it is
Why did creatures like this why do we have statues of this, like, with like, even with dragons and, like, all this stuff, like,
because they were real.
like what is it called with, I don't know, it's like, did man, like I don't like, why it's just weird, like, they didn't fight alongside with, like, animals like this, for instance, and be like, "Oh, you know, we fought together or I had you as a pet to do whatever to help me catch whomever, so we're, like, as one,"
Well,
for a frontal power, but it's like, so we might as well be together, but it's not, you know what I mean, to blend our bodies like half man, half creature
so part
doesn't.
of that, I think I may have
What's that one called? What's that man? What's the thing called with the man and the horse, like the upper
uh,
body?
a minotaur.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think I have some of the reason, like gargoyles. Like we haven't gotten to Notre Dame in France because it was like burnt down. But that's why where gargoyles come from. There's a lot of supposedly why there's gargoyles. You know what I'm talking about on a lot of buildings, and supposedly that is to like wield off evil spirits. Where you put these gargoyle like, and maybe that's has something to do with why they have
Yeah,
all this stuff.
I could see that. Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
but
You see this? You see this bird with its tail? How they interlace it into the landscaping?
hmm that's pretty
Crazy.
cool. But though, if anybody's ever seen Ghostbusters, you know what can happen when like a gargoyle comes to life, right? You remember that?
Mm-mm.
The gargoyle turns into like a real life gargoyle and like raise wreaks havoc on the city.
Is that what happens when it comes to life? Then
I don't know. I don't
creates
know.
damage.
Just saying. Just saying. Who you gonna call? Yeah, well,
Yeah,
so that's Kazan, Russia. Kazan, Tatarstan, Russia. Which, if it isn't the seed of Tartaria, I don't know what is, man.
that is pretty wild. That one building that I loved with the antique white, the blue, and the green windows. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that is crazy. I know how you love your like architecture, so
I've never seen any of these places that we've looked at. You know, it just goes to it's like goes to show like there are so many like buildings around
yeah,
that
you have no idea.
I never even knew about. That yeah, it's just
Yeah, we've seen so many places that I'm sure a lot of people
And I know there's like dozens and hundreds more
and
to see.
and I have to be selective on my list, so I have to pick and choose where we're going. And there's so much more, and I also want to vet like, okay, what what is worth looking at and what is worth like questioning? Because some of the stuff I
Sure.
really there's some other stuff where I'm like, okay, I'm still looking at like and questioning and researching, and I don't know, but
I didn't know what you wanted to do. I did have, well, it's up to you. We had Cologne Cathedral and then Dolmen of Menga. Pronouncing that right?
Dolmen of Manga, yes,
Hmm.
yeah, if you want, we can put in the hour and a half minute
Is that where we're
maybe.
at?
Yup. Yeah, if you want to hit the Cologne and if you want to go to Germany, don't we could do Cologne Cathedral and then save the dolmens if you want.
Okay. We can do that. Yeah. This one I did watch a little on, or I was trying to around a little bit before tonight or before we hopped on, but this place is wicked. So, can we see here? All right. So,
Yes, yeah. We're going to Cologne, Italy, or my bad, Germany. Um, and construction started in 1248, and apparently took like 600 years to finish. And like I said, I don't know if there were mod-
that is, yep, they did the handoff of like men and women who whatever that worked on this that never got to see the end of the project committed to this 600 years.
because we had talked about the one in that was in Italy, Spain. The we did last week. The Med-
Yep.
the Medina. It was
Yeah,
not
it was like I thought for a second before I looked this one up, I thought I was like, wait, did we cover that one? But this one is a different one. But yeah,
yeah, we covered the one in Spain. The Medina, I believe it's called.
I forget the name of that
And
one.
and apparently construction started in 1248 and they finally finished in like 1880. Whatever they finished it on again was that the plumbing was they weren't doing plumbing back in 1880. So I don't know if the final guy just finally climbed to the top of the like look at this place.
Dude, this it's like an icicle.
It's almost like built to be like a warning, like it has that like daunting like this is
Yeah,
us.
like what is up with like the super sharp, jaggedy edges? Like I know, yeah, like you said, it was built like if you saw this from across the way
You're like, yeah, we don't want to go over there. Let's go over here.
and you heard like people like chanting, yelling, and there was fire, and like it was just like you look at this right here, and this just looks like I don't know, something out of what Lord of the Rings or something.
Right.
It's like the tower eyes or something, or the two
Yeah,
eye tower.
I mean, and as far as built as a cathedral, like okay, like I understand like that you want to build a monument for your God, for your savior, but holy shit. Like
God, dude, like look at this place, bro. It's crazy.
this is and then I think this is another one where like the Medina Cathedral. I hope I'm saying that right. Um the inside pictures are just as flabbergasting. We can get if they'll let us in the doors.
Look at the outside of this.
And it's like you can tell like it's just old as hell. and like the stone is kind of dirty and it needs to be power washed. But like, you know what I mean?
Power
But you
washed.
got power wash. I always say power wash. I know it's pressure wash, but I always
You
say
always say power washed.
I do. I don't know
It
why.
it that the but that dirty hue like gives it its like character though.
Yeah.
If it were once like supposed to be like a light like gray or something, it looks more gothic-y.
Yeah.
Like with
Oh, yeah.
this
Oh,
with this
100%.
genre here, with this color palette, it
It
looks
looks
badass.
just fucking daunting. Like, dude, you better have your shit together if you're about to walk in that building. You better be right with your maker if you're gonna walk in that building because
I could see what the knight would look like walking out of here. I could see how he'd be dressed. I could like if I had to design his uniform, his chest plate and like his arms would all have like these intricate like his arms where it would like step down in like a sickle or whatever, and his chest he'd have like this all these ribbons of like these textures, all these things you see here. I just picture in like a thin like slit of a red eye with like a diamond right on his forehead with a massive long sword
yeah,
just glowing.
there you go.
Gosh, dude.
Let's see if we can get inside this.
Yeah, let's go.
It,
Jeez,
it also looks like, dude, like
jeez.
I don't know. It's almost like a. I feel like there would be massive energy in this place. Look at all them peaks. You know, I feel like it's an energy drawer and like
What are all these for? Like all these things. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can go find someone to the inside, but let's do. Mm,
Justin work his magic here with the clickety clacks. There we go.
what? Boom, boom, boom. Let me see why this. See, I'm wondering when I go to this, like, why does it not let me? I want to click it to where I can see images inside. Here we go.
Bro, how'd they get up there? So and that's why the timeline is so skewed. So over 600 years they built this sucker.
How'd they get up there?
How'd they get up there? Just built really big scaffoldings out of makeshift boards that they had to hand mill and bring all their tools and their paint and their chisels and their, you know, plaster that stood the test of time. I'm sure there's been, you know, some renovations, but
I don't know what all these cheesy alamy like stupid things are. If they're
what?
like copyright things, but you see the pipes here?
You know,
Is it all these like things? This is just somebody's own like photo where they were kind of stepping back and you can see the camera shake.
just insane.
I don't know. I just don't know. It's so tacky how it's doing like that stupid copyright thing on there or whatever. But it doesn't bother me too much. Or I don't know if it bothers you, but
It's
there's a
beautiful.
so yeah, like see like all these right here. Like what like are all those things we saw on the outside? Are those like brace pins, like brace points where the rod comes out and it's constructed and bolted, and then like all these because these are all like they're all the curved points where it goes up like this along the whole building. I don't know, bro. It's pretty.
Well, and that's the thing is like that's all like glass too.
And if you look here, you kind of tilt your head a little bit. This it's like it has like above him right there. It's got a mini like part of the building here above it, like
Yep.
the design.
Yeah.
It's freaking wild.
Yeah. And, like the stained glass that goes into these buildings, like dude, like how high those ceilings are, like
Oh yeah, totally custom stained glass.
And even if it was started okay, started 1248, finished 8, like, you can't, like, you gotta build a you can't I don't know, you gotta like finish the top first. It's like building a house. Like, okay, you frame the
Yeah.
walls, then you put the roof on, then you build the rest
Mm-hmm.
of the fucking house, right? Like,
Yep. All this glass right here, all totally obviously custom stained glass. Value is like doesn't matter because it's like there's no it's almost priceless, but you it give me anxiety to own the building and like for any of it to ever break, you know, with anything coming through. A wild pack of robins or birds comes flying, some debris falls from the sky, anything. I'm sure they may have had like little cosmetic things, but yeah, that glass is
but yeah, something that's I mean, especially if you're talking if it's 400 years old, whatever, like it's priceless. You can't put a price on some 400-year-old stained glass. Like, I guess you can, but like
and I don't even know how they did it back
you-
then. I don't know when when they started staining like glass or whatever doing windows, what was the first technology they used? Like for instance, like these guys, I don't know how old these are, but like when they did it, did they use like did they bleed like certain like vegetable juices into it or something or like
probably.
some kind of paints or it did they use like an extract from a food to mix in with like something? It's just and I know that's not the case here, but it's just it makes you wonder like way back when they did this how
So again,
and it
time
might even be current. It might even they might even be the original Windows. Or maybe they are, but it's like you know what I'm saying. Like I know there's a lot where it's like oh, like if you ask somebody, oh no, these the Windows were obviously those were broken and these were installed in 1973. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm assuming it's all original or most of it.
So stained glass dates back to 2700 BC in Egypt. So that's they've been using stained glass for that long.
Huh? Okay, sure. That's pretty wild.
But that's also like what we were saying. Timelines are just okay. Well, the 2700, and there's like
Right.
a lot of them are like okay, like
Right. Beautiful building for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I look at it from the outside though, and it's like you think that there's much more on the inside because of the design, but that was the whole purpose was for it to be a grand viewpoint of representing exactly what it is you see. It just its power and like what it is. And you go inside and it's a cathedral. It's all you probably walk in and you look down this way and you look down that way and you look down that way and you see it all.
But I'm sure no, I bet it's more than that. Like I'm sure when you walk in that building, I'm sure it's like holy shit,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
But it's
know.
like I'm sure, but I mean, what I mean is like how it's so, because you think like when you think it would have like all these hallways and tunnels and a downstairs and like up
Yeah,
and all
I
these
think
things, but
I would
I'm sure it
imagine
has some.
I would bet it does. That's like the St. Paul Cathedral. I'll reference back to that. Like you walk in there and you like you can damn near get like you walk around. You're like, okay, where am I at? Like kind
Oh
of.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
I don't even remember being. I'm sure I was when I was younger, but going in there, but
it's crazy. Like you can walk around that place. It's got all these different like halls and like that's not even nearly as big as this place. And
hmm
crazy.
yeah, that's pretty.
The Cologne Cathedral, Germany.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
and we have many, many more. As I said, we are working up to getting to pyramids of Giza, taking this journey around the world, and kind of having some fun with it, checking out some places, and some things that maybe we weren't aware of. And hey, even if you were, if you're in this world, if you're in this world with us, then you're probably appreciating the show and just us talking about it and discovering these new places as we take this journey, and we appreciate everybody taking this journey with us. It's a lot of fun. I have fun with it. So
Yeah, thank you guys for just doing little journeys with us and just a little rabbit hole and just checking out some crazy places and just looking at like the I guess just wondering about them and looking in just brushing the top of what it could have been or what a little bit of history on it. So yeah, I had a good time, man. So
yeah, we're just brushing the surface of all this stuff, you know. And I hope it inspires some of you to go ahead and do your own research on some of these own topics and go down some rabbit holes. It's a lot of fun, and you know, and get back to us with what you may have found. Maybe we were wrong about something, and we definitely like to hear anybody's feedback. Come join us on our journey. So, all right. Well, we appreciate everybody. Been a good time, been a great night, and thank you, Justin, for piloting the plane tonight, as
thank you,
always. And
sir.
absolutely, thank you, everyone. This has been Misunderstood. We'll see you next time.